I always tell people I'm like the auntie they didn't realize they needed to know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
All
what I
righty.
mean.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Michelle. I'm so happy to see you all bright and sunshiny.
Look, I'm out here in Miami, Florida, and I'm, excited. I'm attending a conference today, but I just had to start off with my shades on because I just want to say the future's so bright. I just had to come on with my shades on because the future is so bright, and I'm so excited to share information with your audience today about how bright this future is in this digital economy that we've already in, but that is being ushered in quickly.
Right. So I want to jump right in because,
Sure.
when you mentioned to me, when I first met you, we were talking about crypto, and I told you I'm really nowhere near where I need to be in that space. I dig in a little bit. My son has helped me. We invest, we do a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But when you just mentioned we are already there, like I looked up the other day and someone is like, well, the US, I'm like, no, no, no. Everybody's got coins. We need some too. We need some real estate. We need some coins. We need to
Yes,
understand this. This shift has already happened. And with everything that's going on in the real estate market, I
yes,
want my audience, I want my investors to understand what this is, what it's all about, how they can get involved, how they don't miss the boat, you know,
sure.
all of those things. And I know you can't do it all in just these little videos and, a little bit here, a little bit there. That's why I'm so happy you have agreed to come to our conference and teach at the beach. But before we get into all of that, please introduce yourself.
Sure.
I don't want to read off of your
Gotcha.
bio. People can go get that, but please tell people in the audience here who you are, because I want to tell the audience, y'all know I don't fool around with too many folks, but sis went out and did her thing, got these degrees, understands what's happening. And if I'm going to learn anything, I want to make sure I'm learning from the best. So please tell the audience about who you are.
Sure. Well, first of all, definitely thanks for having me. It is definitely a passion and a pleasure of mine to always educate. Education is one of my passions. And that's actually what made me go get educated. So just a brief background about how I got in this space and how I ended up where I am now. So in 2017, I was introduced to Bitcoin. And like many people, when they are first introduced to Bitcoin, no one knows what it is. You have no clue. You're like, wait a minute, what is this? All I knew was that they told me that Bitcoin should double by the end of the year. So I started buying Bitcoin at $1,800. And that was in February of 2017. And by the end of the year, it was $20,000. And I was like, okay, tell me what just happened. Like, what did this? What's going on? And, interesting enough, no one could tell me. They were just like, it just does it, and that wasn't good enough. I'm a researcher. So I was just like, it just does it. So why does it just do it? And so, you know how you have that instinct, like, wait a minute, something is here. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's something that I need to pay attention to. And it's something that I need to know about, especially the fact that nobody could tell me about it. So fast forward, I started researching it, and I said I first went in, they had a blockchain certification that I went in, received, and then flew to Greece because I wanted to understand smart contracts on Ethereum, and went and got Ethereum certified, and then started my master's program. And then in January of 22, received my master's degree. Now, let me back up some. So 2004, 2008, full-time real estate investor in the market. So I understand real estate too. The market crashed and I jumped out the market, not understanding market cycles,
Right.
not understanding that that was the best time to get in the market.
To buy more.
Correct. And so I mentioned that because the same thing happens with Bitcoin. The same thing happens with cryptocurrency. Oftentimes people see the value of cryptocurrency or Bitcoin going down and they think, oh, it's gone, it's nothing. And that's actually the time to buy. And so I was able to actually start to learn and understand about market cycles because of cryptocurrency. And I'll talk about this, shortly, but when I really started to understand the market cycles and I started to understand what was happening in the market, then I knew that I needed to pay attention. And I knew that I needed to share this information with as many people as possible before we had all of the institutions and the institution money come into the market where they can actually then manipulate the market and dominate it, as we've seen the same thing that they've done in the real estate industry as well. And so if I can get into comps with you later, because I know real estate, investors and brokers and agents and so forth and professionals, they like comps, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But the same thing that we can see is happening we've seen in real estate and other asset classes, we are now seeing in the cryptocurrency. And most people don't realize that it's an asset and it's an asset class.
Right. So I heard, I'm hearing like my little birds in my head she said she went to Greece, she got this degree, she did this to get the certified. To my folks who watch me all the time, what do I tell you about your niche? You have to go study, right? You have to go study. You have to jump in. And if you're going to dominate any space, you got to learn it. You got to get out there and learn it. So kudos to, you for understanding. And I always tell people there's no skipping to the front of the line if you don't know what it is you're talking about. And I will tell you, I had some past folks I worked with, and they were like, yeah, we're starting this metaverse and we're doing this and we're doing that. And I would say, well, explain it to me. They couldn't explain it to me. They couldn't explain it to me in terms that it would make sense to me, but yet you wanted me to invest. And so those things are really red flags for a lot of people, because if you can't break it down and have people understand it, then how do you think they're going to invest? And I'm so glad so many people didn't jump in there, because again, you have to understand and you have to take the time to learn. So as you're coming to teach at the beach to do a certification class, what can the people who are attending, and who should be in that class? Because I know it's not just for real estate agents, but who should be in that class? What are they going to get from that?
So there's a couple of things. One is anyone that's attending your Teach at the Beach should be in the class.
Okay.
Whether they are a real estate professional, whether they are a investor, whether they are just someone who is coming to learn and spectate. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to give you like a 2-minute breakdown on exactly why they need to be there. 2 reasons. One, if you're a real estate professional, tokenization, tokenization is going to be huge. So you need to know about that, because it's going to affect the market. It's going to affect you and your industry. Number one. Blockchain is going to affect your industry. We're going to have deeds on the blockchain. It's about to happen. I'm working with smart cities right now, all around. I just signed a contract with them last week with people who are building smart cities. If you're going to do federal government contracting, your business is going to have to be on the blockchain, because the only way they're going to pay you is if all of the information is on the blockchain. So you need to understand what the blockchain is, one, and why it's so important, and it's going to affect every sector and every industry, just like the internet did. That's first and foremost. The second is that because I don't see any real estate professionals that are dominating in the cryptocurrency or blockchain space. And I was invited by a developer 2 years ago in 2021, because they were selling a lot of real estate condominiums to cryptocurrency investors.
Right.
And they wanted to educate the other real estate professionals, because they wanted them to be able to bring other cryptocurrency investors. Cryptocurrency investors are not just little young girls and boys as we see with Lambos, or whatever. No, a lot of them are sophisticated investors who are getting into the market, and they take their profits that they make and they go purchase real world assets like real estate. And so if you don't have to be the expert, but if you can speak their language and have the resources that they need in order to buy or sell using their cryptocurrency, you've just upgraded yourself and put yourself in a place and a position that most real estate professionals are not in.
Right.
Secondly, I was attending a conference and it was a gentleman that sold a house in 2016 for $2.5 million. And the seller accepted cryptocurrency. That house was just sold 2 years ago for $6 million. So the buyer who gave the cryptocurrency, he made a profit. But the seller who accepted the cryptocurrency now has over $100 million because that 2.5 million that they were paid in Bitcoin, right, because Bitcoin went up so much since then, now they have over $100 million. And so there's going to come a time where there are going to be people that ask you, should I accept Bitcoin? Should I not? What should I do? And if you just say, hey, I don't know, I really don't know about that stuff, which is a common comment that I get from real estate professionals, then it's like, you just lost a customer. It's like telling a real estate investor that's looking for an investment property and you're trying to sell them on kitchens and bathrooms.
Right.
Or you say, well, you know what? I don't know about that real estate investing stuff. They're not going to go with you.
Right.
So you're going to put yourself at an advantage, especially now when you think about so in real estate, we say follow the money. How do you know that a community, what's happening, or a master plan community is coming, or a new area is being gentrified? Because of the development that's happening, the Chick-fil-A comes, the Starbucks come, right, Target. And so we know that, you know what, I might want to go buy some land over there. I might want to go buy some property over there. Well, how do you know what's happening with our currency? When you have companies like Fidelity, BlackRock, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Franklin Templeton, Bank of America own the most patents to blockchain. When you have companies like that are getting in the cryptocurrency space with Bitcoin ETFs and now Ethereum ETFs coming, I always say follow the money.
Right.
And
right.
You need to pay attention. So those will be the three things that I would say, if the big money is going over there, and I just want to semicolon this. I did a Google search. I can pull it up if you want me to. And it was, what is Fidelity's price prediction for Bitcoin? What popped up was that one Bitcoin, Fidelity's price prediction is that one Bitcoin will be worth $1 billion with a B by 2038. And that one Bitcoin will be worth $1 million by 2030. And that one Bitcoin will be worth over $96,000 by the end of 2024. If that don't make you, like, those are your comps.
Right.
And you look at what's happening with Bitcoin just in the last 6 months. From October, it went from $26,000 and it's hit 74,000. I think that we might need to pay attention to that.
Right. And I want to say, have been, if you're listening and you've been on tours and stuff with us, you guys know that for ever and ever, I've always said to you guys, if by the time you wanted to work with a developer who was in a great neighborhood and there was a Starbucks and all those things, if you waited until you saw the Starbucks, it was too late.
Absolutely.
Get in there. You should have known what the master plan was before, doing. So kudos to you again for going back and just paying attention to what markets are doing. And again, investing, guys, is the same across the board, whether it's got the same thing happening, right? You have for real estate, it's the same for crypto and everything else. You have to get in on at the right time and you have to be educated. And sure. So if people were paying attention when we did our conference, we did a tour to Puerto Rico, a lot of that because we were watching what Puerto Rico was doing, yes, for the crypto investors. Like they changed the rules of the game so that crypto investors can move, and really pretty much all the crypto investors to Puerto Rico and gave them all the incentives to start businesses there, to open their businesses there. And I don't know if people were paying attention. I can't get there fast enough. And I also knew I needed to be educated. So,
Sure.
kind of forecasting and things that we always have to pay attention to, whether folks, have time or not. I'm like, we all have the same 24 hours in that day, right? If you can carve out an hour to then learn a little more about this, and you real estate agents who are looking for, well, what's going to be the next thing? I know for me, I'm now figuring out which properties I'm going to put on the blockchain,
Right.
so that's what
Think
I want.
about that. That's a question. And one of the things that I didn't mention, and it's very important. So Bitcoin does a thing called a halving. Bitcoin is finite.
Right.
21 billion only be created. And it does a thing called a halving every 4 years. We're in that cycle right now. So if you ever wondered, all of a sudden, remember I said I bought it at 1,800. By the end of the year, it was at 20,000. A halving had just taken place in 2016, and it typically lasts for about 18 months. So I'm gonna just give you some comps real fast. In 2016, on July 9th, there was a halving. The price of Bitcoin at that day, on that day, you could have bought for $650 something. Within a year, that next December, so within 18 months, it was $20,000. In 2020, we had another halving. On May 11th, that was a halving. I'm giving you this information in case I say documentation beats conversation. So if you want to Google it, you can. May 11th, there was a halving. The price of Bitcoin on that day was $8,800. By November of 2021, Bitcoin was 68,000. It had hit 68,000 at its high. Another halving is about to take place this month. April 20th is the day that we're expecting the halving to take place. The halving is what triggers the bull run. And so, but we've already started seeing the bull run. So what happens is that's why they're expecting Bitcoin to hit over 150,000 within the next year and a half, because a halving is taking place. What basically a halving mean, if there's 21 million, let's make it say it was only $21 million that was ever going to be created. And every year they put 1 million into circulation. Mm-hmm. And every 4 years, they cut the amount that went into circulation in half. Right. What would happen with our dollar? It would rise. The value would rise because it would be less in circulation. Right. Different than what happens when they put all the money out in 2020 for COVID, and we seen inflation because so much was put on the street. And a lot of times we think that the price of chicken rose or gas prices rose or rent rose. No, our dollar became worth less. And so the opposite happens with Bitcoin. Less supply is put out, and so it rises the price of it. And so it's no coincidence that these major institutions have filed for ETFs and got them approved the same year that we're seeing a halving.
Got it.
Okay. So I know that was a lot right there, but if you just picked up anything about what I'm saying, you need to pay attention.
Got it. Well, I'm paying attention. I have enough of my squad paying attention, which is why we've invited you to our conference, because, sure, we don't do the big 30,000 people at a conference. We are a conference where we want people to learn, grasp, take, sure, the information, really understand the information, really understand whatever the investment opportunity is, so that they can build wealth and build generational wealth. And so that requires us to slow down, be in a space, be with an instructor that we can talk to. And then even afterwards, it's like, oh, and I see you by the beach. Hey, Michelle, can you explain that one more time? Right. You're like, oh yeah, sure. Grab a pina colada, come sit down, and I can break that down to you more. That's what our conference is about. And so we are so happy to have you. I'm so glad you were able to stop at your conference and give us a few nuggets. And again, folks, if you're out there, go Google everything she says, uh, just for your own knowledge. And even if you aren't into all of, real estate or wherever you are, guys, this is the time. And I told you before, I've been teaching realtors for the last 20 years about a time when they were going to be at a space where there wasn't enough affordable housing in any major city. And now we are here. And now those same companies who are investing in blockchain and investing in all these things are the same companies that have purchased up all this real estate. So I want you guys to keep in mind, those same companies own the majority of the institutionalized real estate that they're buying. And if 1 in 7 real estate properties are owned by hedge funds and other institutions, they're saying by 2030 will be 4 in 7. So it is time for you guys to really, really wake up, really figure out what you're going to do, because if not, you won't be able to leave anything for your children, your grandchildren, or anything. And if you guys always hear me repeat over and over and over, when the gentleman got on 2020 on evening television and said, the American dream can be rented from us, and he was a part of a very large hedge fund, they are serious. They're playing a whole different game. And it's not about the people of, it's not about us. It's about them and their corporations and making a bunch of money. So guys, as you have seen me already, I've already started, we found our office in Miami because we're going to where the money resides. So if crypto and real estate is happening in Miami, we know Michelle is there. We want to be there alongside of this and making sure we know what's going on and how we're going to get into this arena and be able to be educated, educate our clients, and also don't miss another opportunity. So Michelle, thank you so much. I know you're busy. I appreciate you stopping in the middle of your networking and conference and everything else you're doing and giving us just a few minutes. So if you have anything you want to let the rest of the listeners know before we sign out, the floor is yours.
Sure. I'll just leave everybody with this. First of all, what Dr. Bryant is doing is amazing. I mean, just opening the borders. You're opening borders for a lot of people that would never have the opportunity or never think of the opportunity to invest outside of the US. That right there alone is huge. So what you've identified is that we need a global opportunity. That's where the opportunity is. And so I'll say that cryptocurrency is a global opportunity as well. And like you were saying, in Miami, I moved to Miami because, like you said, where the money resides, I go where the money resides. But I leave them with this. No one is coming to get your vote. They're not coming to get your opinion. They don't even care whether you like crypto or not. It's happening. And if you're going to be ahead of the game and not behind the masses, it is imperative that you have some type of education about what this new money is about to look like. And you don't have to be an expert. I'm not the most technical person. You don't have to ever have purchased Bitcoin or not. It was a young lady that introduced me to you, that she had never bought Bitcoin in her life, but she knew it was something there. And she did in October. 3 times her money already. Where else can you do that at?
Right.
With an asset that can be borrowed against. Now that'll be taught in the class.
That's right.
But so if I can just leave them with this, pay attention and take it serious, because it is going to affect you and this industry, whether you say you're going to participate in it or not.
Right. Well, they heard it first, and they heard it second, and they heard it again. I always tell them the ship is already gone. So that's it. Play catch up after this. Yes. So thank you, Michelle, and I'll see you soon. And I look forward to talking to you here soon also.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.